So I know that you are a mechanical engineering professor. How did billiard physics fit into your research and teaching?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Well, I taught in mechanical engineering, I taught robotics and dynamics of machines, basically how things move. A lot of my mechanical engineering work involves how stuff moves, and also how do you write equations to describe that. So my earliest involvement with pool was I was always interested in pool, and some dynamic stuff, I would do pool examples in my engineering class. So, analyzing like conservation of momentum or energy and equations of motion, I started doing some pool examples of that early on, and the students liked that.
And I guess
yes.
I guess it's like a perfect lab for, for all the ideal experiments because it's so close to that ideal world.
Yes.
Where you have same mass stuff.
Yeah, same mass, nice smooth balls.
Yeah.
Everything's perfectly spherical, perfectly flat.
Yeah.
Yes, so it is very close to ideal, and the experiments give expected results.
Nice.
So I started doing that, exposing students to some pool examples because I had an interest, and then at some point I started getting more interested to play better at pool. I joined a league, and there were some really good players, and that's when I started reading books on pool and videos, and I was often disappointed by how poorly they described some things, and especially the physics stuff. So that's when I started taking notes and said, oh, maybe I'll write a pool book one day. And so when I wrote my pool book, I did a lot more physics analysis, and then I brought a lot more into the classroom. So that's how it came in, through the physics. The physics is kind of how I started getting more involved in the pool, and then I started wanting to play better, and then so it grew beyond the physics.
Why don't you tell us a bit more about the book you wrote?
Sure. What my pool book?
Yeah.
There's my pool book, The Illustrated Principles of Pool and Billiards. I wrote it in 2004. And again, this was after I had joined this league that had great players. I was inspired by them, and I wanted to learn how to play better and like them. And that's when I started reading everything and I could find. I watched a lot of early instructional videos. And a lot of things, again, I didn't think they were as good as they could be. Like a lot of the illustrations were poorly done. People would say stuff that was wrong from a physics perspective.
Right.
And I started taking a bunch of notes, all handwritten back then. And every time I learned something at the pool hall from one of these great players, I'd make a little drawing and I'd take some notes and I'd put them in a folder.
So you bring the notebook to the pool hall?
No, I just had little notes. Sometimes
Slips?
Yeah, little slips of paper. Sometimes paper napkins from the bar or whatever. Or sometimes I would get home and I would write down stuff. I would draw things when I got home. And I would put them in this folder. And pretty soon the folder was like this thick.
Okay.
And I said, well, maybe I should write a book. Since you shouldn't complain. If you complain about something, you should do something about it.
Right.
So I was saying these books could be better. I decided to do something better. So, my whole goal was to try to make very good illustrations, nice color illustrations. Every page has an illustration on it. That was my goal. I wanted it to be very well illustrated. I wanted it to be kind of like textbook style, so you could use it as a reference. A lot of the earlier books were not that way. It was hard to find information, but I have a very good index where you can look up something and know exactly where to go to find the information you want.
And define all the terminologies you use.
Yes, so it is kind of a textbook style, which is my goal. Yes.
That's nice. It's like a academic approach to how to play pool well.
Yes, good description. Yes.
Thanks. A lot of people playing pool don't care too much about the physics behind pool. Does the knowledge of physics help you play pool better?
That's a good question. You don't need to know any physics to play pool at world-class level.
Okay.
But you have to have the intuition, to understand the important physics effects at the table. Now, for me, I have done a lot of math and pool physics analysis, and that has helped me discover some things, and it's helped me create some useful techniques that do help people play, like my 30-degree roll peace sign.
Yeah, very famous.
Yeah, this is very useful to predict which way the cue ball is going to go when it's rolling.
Yeah.
All right, this came from a lot of math and physics analysis. All right, I did a lot of analysis, did these graphs, I saw these patterns, and I just got lucky one day and said, oh, if most people when they hold out a peace sign, it's very close to this natural angle that the cue ball wants to go at. So this was inspired by a lot of math and physics. There's also a lot of physics at the table that you need to know to be able to play effectively, like what throw is, How do you throw a ball? Well, that's pool physics. You don't need to know the math and physics equations behind it,
Right.
but you have to know the effects. And you know, my book is all about not just telling you what to do, but it's helping you understand. Because if you understand how an effect works, you don't have to really remember it.
Mm.
And you don't have to spend years trying to experience it. You just know what the effect is, and you know this is what it does, and this is how you use it, and this is how you account for it. So when some people say pool physics, they mean like, what are all the effects you have to know? Like, how do you, like when you hit a bank shot with a cut angle, it transfers spin to the ball, and it makes it come up short.
Right.
Well, that's pool physics. Do you have to know the equations? No, but you have to know those effects. If you don't know about the spin transfer, you're going to miss bank shots.
It's like the physics help you build a framework
Mm-hmm.
of all the different possibilities on the table, and
Yes.
you can use that knowledge, that top-down view, to help you play better pool.
Yes. I mean, you have to know those effects, the physics effects.
Yeah, you don't have to know the
You
exact.
don't have to know the science behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and some people don't have to use words to describe the effects. They just have to have intuition or know how to aim those types of shots. So
Right.
that's where people disagree.
Right.
I'm using the words like throw and spin transfer and shortening the banks. You don't have to know all those words, but you have to know how those things work at the table,
Right.
either from experience or from intuition, or in my case, it's from knowledge. I think if you have the knowledge, it helps you learn faster.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think understanding the basic pool physics effects and knowledge is useful because it can help you learn faster.
Right.
And when you see a shot you haven't seen before, if you understand the effects, the pool physics, if you understand it, you know how to hit the shot, even though you
Right.
never hit it before, ever, never before.
Yeah.
But some people that only have intuition, they only know how to hit shots that they've hit before. Right? But if you understand stuff like how throw works, or how spin transfer works, or how backspin and topspin affect a ball's trajectory, and how speed affects that, if you understand that stuff, you can be a much better pool player.
Right. You have the ability to analyze much more shots.
I
than
think
those
so.
only with
And
experience.
you can predict how shots are going to work better.
Right.
But again, you don't have to have any of that understanding to play well, because you can just play for a lot and just know how to hit everything. Just learn from experience and intuition.
Yeah.
But I don't have time for that. So I wanted to learn faster.
Ain't nobody got time
Ain't nobody
for that.
ain't nobody got time for that.
I know that you teach mechatronics. Could you briefly explain what it is and how it relates to pool?
Sure. Well, I actually wrote a textbook on mechatronics. So mechatronics, it's just a combination of the words mechanical mechanical, mecha, that's mechanical,
Mm-hmm.
and tronics from electronics. It's basically the combination of mechanical engineering and electronics, and computer science too, programming. But mechatronics deals with mechanical systems like robots, or like cars, rockets, planes, anything that has moving parts.
Mm-hmm.
But it also has a lot of electronics that control the moving parts. And it also has microchips and software that has to have smarts. It makes the machine smart and responsive. So that's what mechatronics is.
So this is kind of like the pioneer of nowadays, like AI or like autonomous system.
Some autonomous systems in AI are just all in software.
Right.
And
There's
in
no
a computer.
like
There's
real physical
no
part.
mecha.
Okay, no mecha.
No moving parts or no
Right.
machines. Yes, but you're right. AI and automated systems. That's all that stuff. That's the computer science side of mechatronics.
Gotcha.
Yes, software is what makes machines smart. So that's part of mechatronics also.
Yeah.
Mecha is the mechanical moving parts, electronics, and software is what controls it all.
Like the brain and the hands.
Yes, that's right. And
So-
how does it relate to pool, you
Yeah.
say? Well, it doesn't relate to pool very much.
Okay.
Although there are some products in pool that are considered mechatronics devices. Like there was a device called DigiQ, which was an accelerometer you put on the end of your cue, and it basically measured your stroke or characterized your stroke, and could tell if you're stroking straight or not, and how much you were accelerating, and whether you were decelerating into the ball or not. And or whether you twisted the cue or not. So some mechatronic devices can be used in pool like that. I also developed a cue testing machine for a company where it tested the cue ball deflection characteristics of a shaft. So we had some laser beams and some electronics and software that would measure the direction and speed of the ball and measure the cue ball deflection. So that was a mechatronic system. We had a machine that delivered the cue at a certain speed, and we had electronics and software that would take measurements. So that's a good example of how I use my mechatronics background and knowledge to help pool.
And how long did the project last?
That was a year-long project that I worked. I had some students help me with. We did a senior design project, and so we worked on that about a year, and did some testing, and the company uses the machine now to test with.
Got it.
Yeah.
And if you set up a shot exactly the same every time, it can shoot it the same.
Well, it's not shooting a shot. It's just it's a device. It has like its own little table. It wasn't on a pool table.
Oh, it's for deflect.
Yeah, it was just for testing. It's just for testing cues.
Oh, just for testing cues.
Although that's a good point. There are some robots. A lot of university research groups have built robots and computer vision systems that could see the table, and these robots can automatically play pool, but they're not very good at pool yet.
Because they can only make one ball, and then that's
no. Because the robot can move around. They can make different balls, but the problem is they don't have the dexterity and the power yet that a human has, and they don't have the kind of the strategy and the smarts that a human has yet. And also the vision systems to try to see where the balls are. Our eyes are still better, visualizing a shot and seeing that ball. Because there's like shadows, there's a lot of things that sometimes give trouble to the software, the software that sees the camera views and tries to process where the ball actually is. So it's difficult for a robot to play pool, because it's hard for the robot to see the kind of things we have to see accurately. But I think one day we will build robots that can play pool better than a human. That could beat a human player at a table. But I think that day is a long ways ahead in the future. A long ways in the future. A robot that can play better pool than a human is still in the future.
Wow.
Yep.
It's amazing that like the game of Go is already dominated by AIs.
Oh,
by
yes.
robots.
Yes.
But
yes.
not yet pool.
No.
'Cause pool seems, well, I guess because pool needs both the mecha part and then the brain part.
Yes.
But Go
and the vision, very accurate vision is very important in pool.
Yeah.
Now there's some, like in factory settings, there's cameras that can see way better than a human can. So some vision in some automated vision systems and camera systems in factories and so on have much better vision than we do. But for playing pool, the three-dimensional, visualization and judging, like where do you put your hand and all this, there's a lot of stuff we have to judge and see and have a feel for while we're playing pool, and also the strategy and all the decision making. It's really hard to program all that in an AI.
And the more it depends on feel, the harder it is to make it work in a robot.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of judgment. There's a lot of judgment in pool, which is hard to develop in an AI.
Right.
Yes.
So how and why did you choose mechanical engineering and teaching as a career? Did you ever consider playing pool professionally? And I guess if so, why did you choose mechanical engineering over pool?
Okay. I'll answer the pool part first. I never ever considered pool as a professional career path.
Okay.
Other than I am a professional billiard instructor. So that's the career path I chose now. I retired from the university where I taught mechanical engineering. Now I teach pool, as through my YouTube channel, but I also give lessons. I teach courses. So that is the career path I chose in pool, to be an instructor, both for writing books, YouTube videos, and giving lessons and teaching courses. So that is the career path I chose. Now, I never once considered being a professional player, partly because I was not a good enough player to even consider that until I was in my 40s, 40 years old, and that's already getting too old. Some people can play very well into their 40s and 50s, like Efren Reyes, Earl Strickland, a few players, Nick Varner. but Mike Siegel too. They play, they all played well as they got older. But to be a professional pool player, you got to start young. You have to start young, and you have to dedicate your whole life to playing pool. So you can't you can't go to school and graduate school and get degrees.
Jobs.
No side jobs. You have to be all pool, and also you have to have a certain amount of talent. You have to have very good vision. You have to have very good fine motor control. You have to have some genetic things. But mostly you have to have the dedication to work really hard and put in a lot of hours. The only way to play at a professional level is to put in a tremendous amount of hours and to be dedicated to constantly getting better and to sacrifice a lot of things else in your life.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't have the courage.
Yes.
Or have the will to give up all the stuff.
Well, they're not willing to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because this to be a professional pool player, only a very small number of professional pool players make a good living.
Yeah.
Make a very good living.
Yeah.
Like only a handful, like maybe 50 people in the world, maybe 100, make a good living, very comfortable living.
And so most of the professional players still
have to have side jobs.
Yeah,
they have to teach or be a house pro at a pool hall, or own a pool hall themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, or do promotion for companies.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, it's a very difficult career. But hopefully, over time, that will change. Like, Matchroom Sports, they're putting on these big events now. They're starting to pump a lot of money in the pool. Hopefully, that will grow, and we'll get more advertising money. We'll get more visibility, and more respect, and that will bring in more money, and then maybe many more people can play professionally and do well. And that's why I really hope and wish Matchroom Sports good luck. They've done good things in the snooker world, and now they're trying to help the pool world. So I hope that continues.
Yeah. I heard that. So in China, pool doesn't. When people talk about pool, people think about, really messy conditions, and then the people playing pool are not very decent, at least in the last century. What was the view on pool in America? Was it like that before, or was it never?
Well, pool, it still has a bad image in America, because pool is associated with gambling.
Right.
Yes. And just mentioning the word pool, people have a negative image right away.
Oh, okay.
Because the word pool came from the term gambling pools, where people are betting money into a pool. They're putting their money into a pool of money that people can win from. So that's where the word pool came from. It's a gambling term.
So pool don't actually refer to the pool of balls, but refer to the pool of money.
Yes, originally.
Okay.
But the word pool, the definition of pool now is it's pocket billiards. It's billiards on a table with pockets. That's what pool is, pocket billiards. But the term originated because it was betting and gambling was a big part of pool in America when it first started here. Well, maybe we'll come back to that later, but I wanted to finish. We forgot about mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Why did I choose mechanical engineering and teaching?
Yeah.
Well, ever since a very early age, I always loved learning something and sharing what I knew with other people and helping people learn. And so like when I was in school, I had jobs. I was a tutor, and even in like high school, I helped tutor people. And in college, I worked for a math tutoring center. I tutored math. And then I tutored some engineering classes, and I liked that a lot. And then when I was in graduate school, I was a teaching assistant, and I got some exposure to teaching. So I always loved teaching. I knew that was my passion, and that's why I still love doing the YouTube videos, because I'm basically I'm teaching thousands of people about pool in a different way. Yes. So writing the books, that's teaching also. I'm sharing what I've learned, and that's what I get my energy from, because I love sharing what I know and helping other people learn, and that's what the books help me do too. It feels good to do that. So
yeah, and I guess
that's why it's a good career choice, and something that feels good, that you get enjoyment from, you get satisfaction from. That's a good career choice, and you get paid to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember one of my friend who's studying in Emory University right now.
In Georgia.
In Georgia, he's doing a mathematics PhD. And he said that we're getting paid to do things we like.
Yes.
And that's the best thing in the world.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. and mechanical engineering. I actually, when I was in high school, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Okay.
Because I did fishing a lot. I fished a lot. In New Orleans, where I grew up, there was a lot of places to fish.
But there's none to fish here, or is it?
Oh, there's fishing here too,
Okay.
in rivers and creeks. Yes, different kind of fishing. But I always loved fish and how they looked, and I always marveled at how beautiful the fish were.
Uh-huh.
And so I was naive. I just thought, I like the way fish looked. I want to be a marine biologist, just because I like the way fish looked. All right. But when I decided to go to college, I grew up in New Orleans, where there's no rocks or minerals. It's all dirt.
Mm.
In the swampy. It's all wet dirt, mud everywhere. There's no rocks, no mountains.
Okay.
And then when I first saw, rocks and mountains and minerals, I thought, wow, that is so cool. So I actually started in geology. So I chose geology as my first major because I liked the way rocks looked.
Okay.
First, I liked the way fish looked, and I liked the way rocks looked.
In undergrad, right?
Yes, in undergrad. And then, in high school and in my first year in college, I realized I liked math and physics a lot. And I knew that's what I had some ability in, math and physics.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a lot of uncertainty. I didn't have a lot of people, I didn't have many role models. Most of my family members did not go to college. My brother was the first person in my family, an older brother, that went to college. So I didn't have a lot of role models, or didn't really, I was very naive, didn't know very much. But when I started talking to counselors in college, they realized, well, I like math and physics a lot. They said, well, you might think about engineering. And I always liked the way buildings and bridges and structures looked. So I said, oh, civil engineering. So I started there. So I went from marine biology, deciding to go to geology. Then I switched to civil engineering. So first I liked fish, then I liked rocks, then I liked bridges and buildings. But then I thought, oh, stuff that moves seems a lot more interesting, like robots.
Okay.
So that's why I switched. And cars, cool things that have a lot of moving parts, seem more interesting.
Math and physics.
And the math and physics, yes. So mechanical engineering was the right fit for me, because it had math and physics. I always liked taking stuff apart when I was little, and I always thought it was interesting how machines worked. Like I remember I had a cousin, we used to take apart lawnmowers and bicycles, and I remember thinking, wow, how did they decide to do that? That's why.
Yeah.
Whoever thought of that was really smart. And I remember thinking, why did they build it that way? So I always had that interest. So I think even from an early age, I probably should have, liked mechanical engineering, but I just didn't know. I didn't know what mechanical engineering was until I was in college.
Seed that hasn't sprouted yet.
Yes, exactly. So I think I had that seed, that interest in mechanical engineering, even at a young age. But I always loved stuff that moved.
Mm-hmm.
That's what mechanical engineering is. We analyze and design stuff that moves. And stuff moves on the pool table too.
Right.
That's why I like pool.
That's right.
All the motion.
I think it's really, it's a really strong feeling that you gave me, that such a simple thought in the beginning, and it just exploded into countless possibilities.
Yes.
And then you kind of like your entire life, like your choices are based on this very, very simple thoughts or like passion.
That's right.
And that has made you
what I am. That's
Dr.
right.
Dave.
And there's been some crossroads. You know what that means? Like you're going down a road and you have, should you go this way or should you go that way?
Yeah.
That's called a crossroad.
Yeah.
I had a couple of those that totally changed my life. I'm going to tell you about two of them.
Okay.
Because they're much related to these questions, my career choice, mechanical engineering and pool.
Okay.
All right, one was when I got my PhD, I had a little postdoc. I was working and I was applying for jobs. And I was applying for jobs mostly in industry and in national labs. I wanted to do research in industry or in national labs. And I thought I might want to teach eventually, but I didn't really apply to universities. I saw an ad for Colorado State University, and they had a description of the kind of person they were looking for, and it read exactly like my history. So I said, I have to apply for this, because I know I want to teach eventually, or I thought I did.
Yeah.
And they were looking for somebody with all my skills. So back then my skills were mostly computer graphics, robotics, and design, and the mechatronics.
So they were hiring
they were looking
professor?
They were hiring professors, and they wanted somebody with some of that background and skills.
I see.
Yep. And so the first crossroad I had is I had applied to industry. I had worked with this large construction company called Bechtel Corporation, and they had a big office in San Francisco, and they offered me a job to lead up a technology group, a construction technology group. Basically, that would take leading edge technology and try to get it into the construction industry, like robotics, sensors, computer systems.
Try to help with
help improve construction. Yes. And I was going to tell them yes one day, but then I had interviewed at the Colorado State, and they had told me like 2 weeks before that, they said that they decided to hire somebody else. They hired somebody else instead of me.
Colorado State. And then so I was a little disappointed, and then 2 weeks after that, I was going to tell Bechtel yes, and I would have ended up working in San Francisco, a very big city, in a high-rise building. I would have been wearing suits and ties every day. I would have had, been commuting to work hours, an hour each way probably. Would have been very expensive. And I would have been a manager. I would have managed a lot of people, and I don't think I would have been good at that. In retrospect. Back then I didn't know, I was young. I thought, yeah, sure, I'll run this group, I'll manage these people. I think I would have been terrible, honestly. I'm not a good manager, I don't think. But anyway, the day I was going to tell them yes, Colorado State called me and they said, we found some more money, we decided to offer you the job also, a second position. And so if they had called me one day late, it would have been too late. So because they called me the day before I was going to tell Bechtel yes, that totally changed my life. I would have, instead of being in San Francisco wearing suits and ties, working at this company, managing people, and I probably would not have liked it, I ended up going to the university, and I spent 30 years here. So that one crossroad gave me a whole new life, and also the freedom. There's a lot of freedom when you're a university professor. I was able to write these books. I was able to explore my interest in pool, and you
really
don't have to wear suits and ties.
Didn't have to wear suits and ties every day. Yes. So that was a big crossroads. Let me tell you about one more. When I wrote the pool book, actually there's two more.
Okay, two more.
Before I was interested in pool, I was very interested in bowling because I've bowled my whole life. And I'm also a bowler, so I bowled my whole life since I was 6 years old. I've been in a bowling league every year of my life, and I did manage to bowl one perfect game, 300 in 2004. I started bowling when I was about 6 years old. My mother worked at a bowling alley when I was very young. And I bowled in a league pretty much every year of my life since I was 6. But when I was in
you were 6?
Yeah, since I was 6 years old. barely, as soon as I was big enough to throw that ball, I started throwing that ball.
Competing with the adults, right?
Well, no, they were like, I was with other kids early on.
Okay.
They're small. There's like junior leagues, they call it, for kids. But so at one point in my university tenure, I got interested in doing analysis of pool stuff before billiards. And I basically wanted to be the Dr. Dave of bowling before I became the Dr. Dave of pool. And I actually wrote some proposals to the bowling organization that does testing, and they write all the rules. They authorize all the equipment in bowling. I was going to develop some computer graphic simulators and do some robotic stuff and help them improve their testing. And they were going to approve my proposal. And then, but that summer when they were going to approve my proposal, and that would have totally changed my life. I would have been dedicated to pool. I would have been dedicated to bowling. Sorry, if they had said yes, they were about to say yes. But then they had a new manager come in, and they also moved their facility to a different city during that whole summer, and so they kind of changed direction, and then they kind of lost sight of me. I kind of fell through the cracks, or they just. And I tried to get them interested again, and they were too busy with other things. And that's when I decided that was about the same time I decided to write the book, the pool book. So that was a big crossroads. If the bowling people had said yes, I would have been the Dr. Dave of bowling. But they said no, and I went into pool. And I got interested in pool. All right, so that was the second crossroads. The first crossroads was the industry versus university. The second one was pool, bowling versus bowling versus pool. And the third was when I wrote my pool book, it was originally supposed to come with a CD-ROM in the back of the book. In fact, the book actually has a picture. There was supposed to be a CD-ROM here. And throughout the whole book, I have video demonstrations and the technical proofs and slow motion videos. All those clips were on a CD-ROM because there wasn't a lot of
internet stuff.
Internet was there, but it wasn't very popular yet. So people back then, they preferred a CD-ROM instead of the internet.
Because everybody has the DVD player.
Yes, everybody has a CD-ROM player. Yes. All right, so at the last minute, the publisher said, we're not doing the CD-ROM. And I'm thinking, what are we going to do? I say CD-ROM 1,000 places in the book. So that's when I said, well, I'm just going to create a website, because I had done some web development for my university job. I had done a lot of web stuff for my courses. I said, okay, I'll just create a website. I'll put all the videos. This is before YouTube. So I put all the video clips on a website, and that gave me a lot of I don't want to say fame, but it got me noticed. People noticed me. Who's this new guy? Who's this new guy? Dr. David wrote a book, and he has these videos on the internet. So that helped me kind of gain some notoriety, or I got noticed, reputation. All right, and then people watch my videos and they say, "Why don't you put these on a DVD so I can watch it on my DVD player?" You know, and a lot of people ask me that. So I did. I said, "Okay, I'll put them." I added some narration. I put all the clips on the DVD. I added some narration. I had to learn how to do all that. I had never done that before. And then I started selling the DVD, and the DVD did very well. It sold a lot, and it made me a lot more money than this book. The books don't make much money. And that was that's when I thought, wow, maybe I can turn this into something bigger. Yeah. And then I started doing more DVDs. I decided to work with Tom Ross in Denver. We did this 5 DVD project, the Video Encyclopedia of Pool Shots, and that did really well. And that's when I kind of got the the reputation, and became the Dr. Dave of pool. So because the publisher, this was the crossroads, because the publisher said no CD-ROM, I got a whole new business. I got the Dr. Dave Billiards business. All these videos, I've put out over 30 DVDs now, and I became the PBIA master instructor. I have the book. I have the very popular website. And you also put all of the videos on internet now, right? Yes, I do. The YouTube channel. All of that came because the publisher said no. No. Yep. And now I was also able to retire from my university job a little earlier than I might have. So because the publisher said no, all this stuff happened. I retired early. I have a very good business with the pool now. Make a good income, and I enjoy this. And so these crossroads in your life, they totally change where you end up. And you have to be willing to go in those new directions. Right. That's the main thing. You have to have the courage. You mentioned courage. You have to have the courage. And although at the time you're very nervous, this is scary. Yeah. It's scary going this way when you've been going this way the whole life. It's scary to go that way, but it's those moments in life that totally change your life. Yeah. I'll always remember those 3 moments. That's really amazing. Yes. I'm happy that the bowling association had a bad manager. Yes. Oh, thank you. It was the timing. I had bad timing in bowling. Yeah, bad timing. I had bad timing. Yeah. I wanted to do that. That's what I really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I would have been happy doing that. Yeah. But because of the timing, it pushed me over here, which is good. Yeah. I'm even happier now, I'm sure. Yeah. Yep. It is because you chose pool that we now have, many instructional videos and then great demonstrations. Well, thank you. Thank you. Yes, and I've gotten great enjoyment from that too. That's great. Yes. Yeah. That's what's called that's a career. Yes, that's a career. Yep. Can you tell us a bit about your college and graduate school life? Was pool an important part of your life back then? Mm-hmm. Did you do anything about pool back then except playing? Yeah, I played pool socially with friends, a little bit in high school and all through college, undergrad and graduate. And I think, in graduate school, I had a good close group of friends, and we went to drink beer and play pool every Thursday for every week, like the whole year. Every Thursday we went to go drink beer and play pool. And were you the best? No, I think we were all similar. Okay. And we were not great. We didn't have our own equipment. We just used the bar cues. Uh-huh. But we did better than most people in the bars. We were good social players, mm-hmm. but we were not competitive in terms of leagues. Wouldn't be competitive in a good pool league. Gotcha. But we probably rarely ran a table. Like if we ever ran a table, it was like a special thing. It's like something that you gotta celebrate. Yeah, like you had to celebrate. Yes, yeah. So that was in my whole graduate school career, I probably only ran the table maybe 2 or 3 times. Oh wow. So I was not a very good pool player. I was good social player, but only when I joined the league and decided to watch videos and read books and work on my own book did I start trying to improve my play a lot. And then when my book came out and when I started getting some notoriety, I noticed people were saying that, well, you can't play. Look at your videos. You don't know how to play that well. So that's when I really, I was kind of motivated by that. I said, look, I want to show these guys I'm going to play pool.
Yeah.
I'm going to play, and I need to learn how to play pool better if I'm going to have a book and videos out there. So I worked really hard on my game after my book came out.
Got it. So you were first a better teacher and then a better player.
I think it actually helped writing my book when I was not a great player yet.
Gotcha. Why?
Because I knew enough about the game to write about it, but I was still learning some of the techniques, and that helped me share what's important and how do you learn, what are the important things you have to know while you're learning. Whereas like if I try to write a book now, I already know everything.
Yeah.
There's so much I know about pool, there's so much I know, I can't relate to the people that are learning as well maybe.
Got it.
Although because I'm a teacher, I feel like I have that skill, I can relate to people that are learning.
Yeah.
And know how to speak to them in terms that will help them. But I think sometimes it's better to teach something while you're learning it yourself.
Because then you know both the struggle you had and
exactly
what's the hard part to.
Yes, you know what's important.
Yeah.
Better. Yeah. Yeah.
Got it. So did you ever like organize any events, like pool events, when you were in school, or just?
No, just getting people. I was like the kind of the leader of the friends, the group of friends that kind of encouraged us to go play pool every week. I kind of led that effort, but never did anything organized. No, other than now I'm involved in the PBIA, the Professional Billiards Instructor Association, and so I'm on a committee and I help develop the training manual. I helped do some instructor training in Vegas recently. So I'm more active now in the organizations.
Got it.
Yeah.
By the way, PBIA was built by Jerry Bryseth.
Jerry Bryseth, yep. Jerry was recently honored with the Hall of Fame induction.
Right.
This year.
It's like the highest honor you can get in BCA.
Yes.